In this place I'm free. In this place I can talk to you about mental health, behind the scenes, how Zero News is actually created, my own interests like weather, sometimes just talking crap. This is the place where I get to be me, and you get to decide for yourself what you think, and to see if I mirror a part of you that you didn't realise was there. And maybe one day make it a place where you feel safe to air your own opinions, whether it's from the weather to the meaning of life. There is no boundary. Welcome everybody. This is zero, actually 0, 2, 3, and 4. I think I've got the broadcast on. But if you would just bear with me, I have realised I have made a mistake with the microphones. So you would just bear with me a moment. I don't expect too many people to come on for this when I tell you what it's about anyway, but we shall see. Hang on a second. Just trying to get this effing these Rode mics are very, very good. But the what do you call it? Like for tiny little, I don't know if you synthesize that tiny little magnet. I'll tell you what, you can crush your bollocks with this thing. It's unbelievable. Right. Anyway, sure you really wanted to hear that. As far, yeah. Right. Let me just make sure this is working. I've got I'm such a prick. Doesn't matter. Let's just leave it like that. Right. Okay. Hey everybody. Good to see you. I actually wasn't really expecting people to come on, so I don't think that's gonna make it any more awkward though. So this little series is obviously designed for it's probably obviously designed for the few rather than the many. It's designed for the few people that might give a shit. It's designed for the few people that do seem to take a bit more of an interest in other parts. And it's also for me to have something like akin to a diary stroke track record stroke few things. Because I always think you end like people go into projects like this, and this was a project to try and figure some things out. And yeah, it's like it's keeping a diary of all that, and at the same time, it's allowing other people into the world of how has a person like this got to this point? And I wanted to bring up because what's going to happen is I want to make this a short one today. I'm going to have Archer on tomorrow. One because he doesn't give a shit about the camera and stuff like that, so he's just totally himself. He also tends to elicit memories and stories and things that I tend to forget a lot about, and it'll bring a lot back. And there's just certain conversations I feel comfortable having with him. And I think that, and if we're going to do something like this, I think it's important that we go through all the stages so that we can cover exactly what it is, all the way up to this state, up to why we're here, how this has all come about. So there was a couple of things I kind of wanted to address on this one because I think once we get Archer on, I think as much as we may talk about serious issues, I think we'll have a bit more fun. So I thought let's get a little bit of the I wouldn't say it's too serious, but let's get a bit of the serious one out of the way. And this is a bit of a risk what I'm about to do because the chances of people who are still alive seeing this and being offended are actually quite high. And it's not what I want, but it's my story, and in order to tell it, I can't pull punches. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. So anyway, I was thinking about the possibility that we've talked directly and indirectly since I started the show about anxiety, and we've talked about it, we've talked around it, but we've never talked about why I have it, why it's here. Um, and for other people, I also think it's worth asking the question: do you always need, as some therapy suggests, to go back into your life and deconstruct it in order to fix what's going on now? And I think that's a really deep and important question, and one that I wouldn't say that I have an answer to as such, but one that I'd like to offer a couple of things, a couple of thoughts. Nothing, again, nothing real clever. These particular types of episodes are going to be made off the cuff, as and when I've got the time. And like I say, it'd be great to have people at Archer on. I'm hoping, um, I've got a friend called Maz, and I'm hoping maybe Katie will come on as well. Um, but we'll one step at a time. So um, yes, so the question is, you Tom, you've been here for a while. You've talked this up. You've talked about anxiety, but what is the score? Why? What's the score? Why have you got this thing in the first place? Why haven't you sorted it out by now? Why are you still going through this? Are you a victim? Are you playing victim? Are you What's the score with you? Well, I hope that I'm not playing victim. I don't think that I am. I think I think that what I need to do is tell you a little bit of a story. But what I need to do is I need to tell you it. Like you need to understand before I go any further how dispassionate I feel about this. Because you find these people that are like 60 years old and they'll still go on about childhood and stuff like that, and it's like Jesus Christ, just deal with it already, you know? And that's unfair, but that can be me sometimes. And so, like the question of whether you need to go ripping apart your childhood in order to fix the problems you got now is a really good question because I think that it's a different answer for different people. But I think sometimes both answers could apply to the same person. Um, I don't think you always need to deconstruct things, um, especially when you consider that identity and stuff is a load of bollocks anyway. If you're going to deconstruct anything, deconstruct everything. Deconstruct your entire identity, because then you'll find out that most of it's bollocks, and most of what you are is bollocks, and then you can get down to some real truth. But that's a whole other level of sacrifice most people aren't prepared to make. So, so with me, I remember I remember, I don't know how old I was, but from the clothes I remember wearing, I reckon I must have been between 1 and 3 years old. Um, so it's difficult when you're remembering something from that time. You give certain things context because you're not, obviously, when that was being recorded through my eyes, my mind didn't know what it was recording. So obviously, you don't want to change the story by thinking back too much to it. So you just you just accept your memories and then just hold them there, but try not to think about it too much because you can end up changing your own memories. So I remember being jolted awake one night and having my one of my arms nearly pulled out my fucking socket. And I remember the same thing then happened to my other arm. And like I said, I was only a babe, and I woke up and just I remember feeling pain, and I remember wondering what the hell was going on, and you know what it's like when you're a kid. The decibels of any noise can be really distressing to a kid, especially in the middle of the night. And so here it was. It was probably about 2 in the morning, being grappled from two different sides, not knowing what the hell was going on. And then you realise that you've got mum on one side grabbing your arm and tugging you, and you've got the same thing happening on the other side with you know, an intoxicated dad who's, you know, whatever, and how they got to that position of arguing that night, don't know. Um, and really, it's none of my business. That's between them. What was my business is them coming in and doing that. Now, if it was a one-off event, I could, you could say, oh well, trauma related, whatever else. But that was that was the first thing that I can kind of remember. And unfortunately with me, I don't know if I was just a bit of a pussy or if it was the way that I dealt with things, but um, there was never I never went through any kind of real abuse. To be honest, I didn't have anything like that. It wasn't like that. Um, it was more that I was constantly terrified for my mum. Um, and she's got her part to play in that as well. In terms of, well, again, because people are still around, I don't want to go too far, but everybody's got their part to play, yeah. And what I realised as I get older is that what was happening, let's say, from when I was about 6 to 8 years old, 6 to 8 years old, I am learning. I say to you guys, I rely on body language a lot. Well, that's one of the reasons because when you know that you're in an explosive situation between two people, like you are observing body language all the time, especially things that you recognize. So at 6, 8 years old, you are watching your dad, you're watching your mum, you know what time of night it is, you're aware of the stakes, and so my for me, my I was all I was thinking was let's let's keep him occupied, her out the way until he falls asleep, and she's going to do the same. At that age, and that never really occurred to me. But don't forget, so it wouldn't have occurred to me, would it? To think, right? Think about this. It wouldn't have occurred to me. But then, of course, I was going to school the next day, so I'd be up. We weren't talking 12 o'clock at night. We were talking 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd be up till, making sure that they're apart, and this carried on. This carried on through up until I was an adult, and yeah, and so, but this the reason that I did what I did, and basically what I did within that situation, when you look back, is I became the adult. I became the one who was trying to keep the peace. I was the one that was trying to basically goat herd my parents into being in different places, and so I'd sit there, for instance, and my dad would sit and tell me quite literally, what a cunt. my mum was when I was very small, and you can imagine how you bad you feel hearing that kind of stuff. And so I think that it's fair to say it's fair to say that was uncomfortable, but I sat and put up with it because better me than her, because I was going to hear about it, she was going to get it. So that became an easy choice. So so I think what happened was, but don't, so in amongst this, so you become the adult and you're trying to do all these things, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily successful all the time. So yeah, for every success that you have, you might have five successes or what seems successes in your mind, and as much as there's been no trouble. But one one major event, and you've got the house fucking beat off pieces. You've got it, you don't need to hear the detail. The point of it, you get the bit, yeah. So, and when that would happen, depending on the severity on it of it, and again, maybe I was pussy, but I'd go into a kind of shock. And when I say a kind of shock, I think what I mean is I went into shock, but I'm too embarrassed to say it because I think that I actually did. Because people would miraculous. I don't know, maybe if it was embarrassing. People would say weird shit to me afterwards, like, "Are you all right?" And I'd be sat there fucking bright white, just like in shock. What the fuck do you think? Do you know what I mean? But I couldn't even fucking speak. I just go silent. And because there was some pretty scary moments for a kid from a kid's point of view. And so I remember by the time I got to the age of about 13, um, when it came to pub closing time, stuff like that, I was wired and awake and ready for it. Um, and to be honest, totally honestly terrified. And so so why am I telling you all this? Well, this tells you not that I'm a victim or anything. What this tells you is that somewhere along the line there, I got so used to all of this that I developed a hair trigger. So my fight or flight response has become damaged in a roundabout way. So I'm not some thick shit. I'm not some victim. I'm not some whatever the way people view it. All I am is someone who's literally had his fight or flight response over what's the word, overstimulated from too young an age. And so like now, for instance, I don't have any issue with my parents. Like they lived their life, they struggled, they did the best they could. I love them both. Glad they're both still here. Do you know what I mean? It's just everybody struggles at the game of life. We all get that. We all get that one go. You know. So I got no issue about my parents. And that's why I asked you the question at the beginning. Does it always need to be done? But I will say that I did go through a period where I had to think about all of that. So perhaps it does have to be done. I don't know, but I did have to think about all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I decided that once I got to a certain age, I was responsible for myself, and my actions were my own. And trying to blame anything or anyone else for them is folly because it's just a way of stopping yourself from growing. But it's important to note, really, then that I don't feel like I've got a shed load of problems. I don't feel a lot of the time. I don't feel like that at all. I don't feel like a victim of anything. What's so frustrating about being me and not being able to set up a schedule, not being able to do stuff on a regular basis is because this hair trigger now will go off for any reason. It's. I remember man saying to me, you know, and she's right. The difference between fear and excitement is pretty much nothing more than a state of mind because they are physically exactly the same, and it's exactly right. And the problem with me is that if I was to feel excitement, more likely than not, I'm gonna feel fear more than I'm gonna feel the excitement because I'm just so used to it. So what does this mean? Does this mean then that Tom is a chicken shit that is afraid to have conflict? Because this is the other thing that you then get thrown at you, and it's like I think the nearly 3 years that I've been walking straight into conflict should tell you the answer to that. But for the cheap seats, no, it doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't work that way at all. So I'll give you for instance. Most people, when they get a shot of adrenaline to their body, are not used to it. So they will freeze or go into a panic or whatever. Now I've been feet away from car crashes, and it sounds strange, right? But my heart hasn't barely raised a beat, and I've just gone and helped in the best way that I can. I'm not a first aider, so I can say the best way that I can. Um, but my heart rate doesn't really go up very much. You can't you can't really go up from up. Do you know what I mean? And it's like people sort of say, "Oh God, you'd be a lot of good if trouble kicked off." It's like, well, actually, two things. One, if you corner someone who's already on an adrenaline kick, fucking be careful because when they may be scared, but when they snap, they won't be looking to try and beat you in a fight. They'll be looking like a rat trapped in a cage at a way through you, and they'll find a way through you if they have to grab a piece of glass to cut their way through you. So that answers part of it, and the other part is, in some ways, is made people more dangerous because they are always on that edge, and it's like you push them over it, find out how scared they are. And so you'll find that like during some of the craziest moments I've had, when that guy attacked me, I told you about that before. Everything for me happens in pretty much slow motion. I'm just like, look, because there is look, adrenaline's a drug. You get used to certain drugs. I've got used to adrenaline, and so I'm actually more functional than probably the average Joe is when full of adrenaline, which is why which is why, for instance, I can have a panic attack, grab this phone, and go out there and still speak to you when 90 to 95% of people on here could not do the same thing. Just couldn't, not even close could they come close to it. That's not come from me being like special. That's that's from time after time after time after time of me going through it and trying, realizing you can't necessarily think your way through fight and flight. What you can do is you can start controlling parts of your breathing, parts of your body to try and gain back your rationality. And I can sort of at least keep communicating. And I felt that was important. Well, I was like, well, if you can keep communicating, then perhaps you can communicate some of this stuff you're going through whilst you're going through it to people. Because maybe someone will benefit from it. So it's like, do you need to rip your past apart? That's a complicated question, and I would not. Before I say anything else, as a completely unqualified person, the answer is like the most basic answer I can give is I don't know, right? Because otherwise, I don't want to have any influence on anybody. But when talking about me, did I need it 20 years ago? Maybe. I think I could have probably worked out for myself. You know what I mean? I think I'm probably going to put two and two together. So did I need to work it out? Maybe, but I wouldn't say it was the most important thing. Um, I think for people that for people that have an issue that they haven't dealt with, that sits in them like a cancer. And I think for those people, getting that out for the very first time when they've never spoken about it, I think that's super important. So I think for those people, it's important. I think for people with a young age that have been through a lot, I think it's super important. I think for people who are older who have just never dealt with certain things, maybe it's important. But I also think that there are some people that are young that would benefit more rather than being dragged through the mess of what they've had to live through. That would be better off given help, just to help them have some chill time, some time to be happy before they start confronting such things. Um, or maybe not have to deal with certain things at all. I actually believe there is certain scenarios where just just hashing up stuff from people's childhood. I don't actually necessarily think it always. Again, a lot of the time it's about saying, "Well, where did this come from?" I think most people know deep down if they're honest with themselves. So I don't necessarily that it's always necessary. If you have, if you can honestly look yourself in the mirror and say you have been honest with yourself and faced all the questions and things that you asked all the questions, things that you could of yourself and the situation, everything else. And are you truly comfortable with it now? And if you can look in the mirror and know that you are, then I don't see any in somebody trying to drag you through all that again. Because it's like, well, what are you hoping to get out of this, Doc? Because I thought we were here for me, and I'm all right. And I think that if you feel like that and you genuinely feel like that, and it's not a front or a defense mechanism you built up, I think that's fair. I think that's fair play. Um, because I don't know about you, but when I get a headache, I don't go on the internet and start doing a Google search on the origin of headaches and of all the 28,000 million possibilities it could be. I just take a couple of paracetamol and get rid of the fucking headache. And there are times when I think mental health's just like that. It's just like if there's something that helps, just do it, and don't worry about the ins and outs and the technical shit because sometimes you just don't need it. Sometimes all you need is what helps, and so I think it depends on age and stuff like that. But I really do think it depends on you. You know whether you have grappled with issues in your life. You may say you don't, but you do. And you know whether you're now comfortable with the things that have happened in your life. And so, like with me, the way I look at it is this happened, this has been dealt with. Unfortunately, I've been left with a hair trigger. What do I do about it? Still figuring that one out. Um, how does it affect things? It affects things a lot because this podcast would be Zero News would be completely different without it. Is all I'm going to say. Because again, I don't want this to be a negative sounding podcast. This is not why I've come on today. But Zero News would be very different. We'd be scheduled. We don't even go into it. Just the obvious things. There'd be a lot more structure to it than there is now. Um, but when I started this, I was saying to myself that it'd be a fucking miracle if I could do any of it. So every step that we make forward is a step forward because I always wanted to try and make a success of it so that I could show other people that have got the same problems. You can do it too. Don't let people put you off. Don't let people say you can't. Don't let people push you into a corner where you feel like all you can do is follow. Because at the end of the day, like it's some of the most outlandish personalities and people that have some of the best ideas. Um, because they do think a bit more out of the box. And, you know, it may be that you do struggle with certain things, but I don't know. I don't know. I think people that have some people that have suffered, if they've dealt with it right, can be really good at solving problems on the hop. Um, and they're always really valuable people to have around. But yeah, in terms of you, like I say, I offer no medical knowledge whatsoever. But just in terms of whether you really need to go drag up the past, you know that. The only person that truly answer it is you. But honestly, if you feel and you know that you've dealt with it, then just get on with the fucking cure. Do you know what I mean? Just make sure that they know that's how you feel. Um, if you're lucky enough to see anyone at all, that is. Um, and I feel that's kind of as much as I really want to say. Like I say, Archie's coming on tomorrow, and I'll talk to him more properly about it. But I wanted to get the subject of this, because I talk, like I said, I've skirted around the anxiety thing, but I've never really directly dove into it. And I think that it's important because anxiety, by the way, anxiety is a word that is used to describe something, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the right word. Same as panic attack. Panic attack reminds me of a 16-year-old girl having a paddy on a plane. Um, I think if they was to if you was to replace the word panic or anxiety with terror, you would have a much better idea of what it is that people are facing when they talk about this. Because the majority of the time it is terror. Um, so you're being terrorized within inside your own mind, within inside your own body, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And so the only thing I would say is that, like with me, where it's a hair trigger now, sometimes my mind is in totally good place, really good place, and the body just kicks off, and you think, you motherfucker. But having said that, that tips me off to, okay, well, let's follow this process through, and now let's reverse it. Let's see if I can go, all right, well, I see what happened to my body, and then what that's done to my mind. So let's see if I can undo these things that have just happened to my body and see if that affects my mind also. Guess what? It did. It actually did. I started focusing on the parts of my body that had tightened up, started focusing on my breathing, started focusing on all the things that had just gone wrong in the last 5 minutes. And what I found was that I still have control of my mind, so therefore I still have control of my body. You've got control of your mind and your body. Or if you've got control of your body, you can tame that mind down because the moment you start getting control of how many heartbeats you're having, and you can very easily, it's not hard. The moment you start controlling your heartbeats and your breathing, you are beginning to control the energy and the fuel that stuff like anxiety and depression that feeds on. So the moment you start starving it of extra oxygen to fill the muscles with, the moment you start starving it of all these things, it will it will fall in line, and it will stop releasing adrenaline. It will calm down. It does work. It takes practice. It's like super Zen meditation. You really do need to get in control of yourself, but once you do, it works. And don't get me wrong, when I say it works, even when you get to that stage, there's always going to be days that come along where you just lose. That's just life. And even people that don't suffer mental health have days where they just can't cope and everything goes wrong. That's life. And I think a lot of people that have the mental health problems, they take 3 steps forward and they have one bad day and they go, oh my God, everything's falling apart. It's like, no, you're just having a bad day. It's not used to having a bad day. You're just having a bad every day. Stop overreacting. Just chill, chill, and realize that even if a day is bad, it doesn't mean the next day is gonna be. Because you can get into that mindset. Because honestly, that's how it can be. It's absolute worst for me, which thankfully has gone. But when it was absolute worst, I mean, I don't actually know, but I had what was basically like over a 365-day panic attack, as they would call it. I ain't even joking. I'm laughing. I ain't even joking. It just went on and on and on and on, and they left me, and they left me, and they left me, and they left me. And I have no idea how I'm still here. Because the thing is about anxiety as opposed to depression, depression pulls you through the floor and makes you wonder why you bother getting up in the morning. Anxiety makes you desperate. Please stop. Please stop. I'll do anything to make it stop. I put a fucking drill for my brain to make it stop. It's got that. It's like someone squeezing your bollocks and you're just waiting for that final second when they'll let go. It's That's how I feel anxiety measures up for me. They're all different, so I'm only giving you my take. But yeah, you know, yeah. So as opposed to when you need to drag your past up, I think people should be able to work that out for themselves. But I wanted to just talk about this today again because I want to talk with Archer, I want to talk with some other people, and I want to talk about some more upbeat things. But I did want to like just at least cross this bridge because we talk so much. I talk so much about it in terms of, oh, sorry guys, it's messed this up, it's messed that up, and it's like, but what is this thing that I keep talking about, this apparition? And it is, unfortunately, it's mostly physical um, shutdown caused by adrenaline, and don't get me wrong, mentally often affected as well. But even when I manage to get all everything up here and get it in right state, the body just can fail. So it's a real bummer. But again, when I look around at what we've managed to do, when I knew when I started this what the problems were, I knew that the chances of success were virtually zero. And whilst you can't exactly call us successful, you can't call us a failure either. And we've done all right when you consider. And so, and we ain't finished yet either. So I do hope that we can build something, not just that helps the people that we're trying to help right now, but also helps other people who want to try and get into this kind of thing, who feel like they can't contribute, to say, actually, yeah, you can. You just got to not fear judgment. Fuck people's judgment. They got no right to judge you. And also as well, even if you didn't have all the problems you got, you come on YouTube, you're going to be judged. That's just the way it is. So you got to harden that side of yourself up anyway. You can't come on here. You cannot. Oh, occasionally muffled. That's weird. Unless the battery's going. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Um, it could be the battery's going. Lucky I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think the battery's going. I might have to pull that out. Actually, um, I don't know. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Oh, I'll tell you what. Yes, I do. Right, that should. Oh, right, that should be better now. Hopefully. Right. Oh shit, I can't remember where I was now. Well, anyway, so we have Archer on tomorrow. We'll have a chat, but I do feel it's important to get this one out of the way because, like I say, it's this big apparition. It gets talked around. Um, and I could go into detail about the horrors of it and all this other stuff. But what would be the point in that? That's going too far. It's just giving a brief idea. Because the other thing as well is it shapes it shapes what we've done, what we do, and where we're going and how this ends up. So in a way, it's a massive. Well, it's not in a way. It's a massive part of the story. And if things should go right, and if and again, I keep saying it, we're not here to take part. We're here to make a difference. We make that difference, then then this will mean something to the people that think that they can't do it. The people that have got told, like I used to get told all the time, you can't do it, you can't do it. That finger, you need to start exercising that muscle in that finger a little bit more. Once you do, you'll be ready to take them all on. Um, and yeah, and honestly, I know there'll be people out there that think that they can't do it because of these issues. You'd be surprised how wrong you are. You'd be surprised just how when everybody else is getting more tense, your natural immunity, if you like, to adrenaline makes you just sit there and feel pretty goddamn numb. And you're watching other people getting all these other emotions, and you're thinking, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm normally the fucking stressed out one. I'm doing all right here. This is fucking good. This is all right. Everybody else is freaking out, and I'm like, yeah, it's just another day. It is an interesting fact. Um, the only thing I ever worry about, they say that the only problem with things like that is that you might not get that extra adrenaline boost that you're supposed to, like when you have accidents, car accidents, that when when people save people, stuff like that. But bollocks. I'm yeah, I'm happy with it as it is. But anyway, I'm now beginning to waffle. So I'll have a quick look through the comments because I wasn't really expecting people to come on. So ow, but let me have a look through YouTube because StreamYard is absolute shite. And I've decided that now. For all the good that it does 10 times more bad because it just irritates the shite out of me. Um, excuse me a second. Well, I haven't got Tombstone come up on my come up. Right, hang on a minute. Shit. Right, I just bring up the YouTube page. Oh God, I didn't realize the green screen was so messed up, guys. Sorry, I got my screen is this big. Um, so I can't see. I can only see the right side, and it looks like it's all right. I'm so sorry. You should have said something. I would have fixed that. I didn't even see it until I've looked at the big screen and realised the green screen's absolutely fucked. Oh well, it's a bit late now. Um, yeah. So Archer's coming on tomorrow. So it was nice speaking to you today, Archer. Hi, Helens. Both Helens. Um, Leona, good to see you as always. Maz, you still there, Maz? I hope she's okay. Um, yeah, you still there, Maz? Um, and then Fred A, haven't seen you my friend. Since the close of my childhood, bloody hell, my mum used to knit my trousers. Bloody things got so heavy when it rained, they fell down. So true. When I'm overcome with nerves, try to constantly tell myself I'm excited. That's if I remember. I to everyone. Yeah, it's a real thing, isn't it? Um, you've always got a long list of things to do, and you're always trying to decide what to do first, Scatterfeed. Let's not make out anything is any different. Uh, can't do that, Tom. That would be calling it a terror attack. I know. That is literally why I didn't say terror attack because I knew that would come up. It's quite funny you said that. Um, yeah, I'm currently having a terror attack. That would be funny, wouldn't it? Right. Anyway, so yeah, it's what it is, Archer. I can't actually. Yes, I can. Hang on a minute. The light should fix the green screen. Hopefully, it's supposed to be well lit when you're using a green screen, and it's actually gone worse. Oh, how weird. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, well, that gives you a bit better idea. Removed it. Wrong way. Yeah, that gives you a bit better idea what it was supposed to be. Um, but yeah, you're supposed to have green screens well lit, and I didn't have my light on and didn't have my studio lights on, so that was why we got the the shitty quality that we got. So that was my bad. But oh, out of screen. Yeah. So these green screens on StreamYard are all right, but the only thing with them is they only do stationary green screens. I like moving stuff in the background and that. So but it's a bit of fun. I know people will go like, oh, why are you using the childish background? It's like, well, do you want to see my fucking hedge? Do you know what I mean? Do you want to see my toilet, or do you want to, So yeah, that's why I use the childish screens, because it's probably nicer to do that than see someone renovating their fucking house. Jesus. Right. I think I'm done. Well, thank you for joining me. Hope again some of this makes sense to someone. Hey, Busker, sorry I didn't see you. Hope this makes sense to someone and helps someone out one day. And if it doesn't, well, I tried. And I hope it gives some kind of understanding of what I'm talking about sometimes, you know? Sorry to try to. It's a big brother. It's a big brother bedroom for the future. It's Premier Inn. It is. It's Premier Inn, provided by Starfleet Academy. You should know about that, Ensign. Anyway, before I come back to that, I'm gonna say thanks for joining me. I really didn't expect anyone to join me at all, so I really appreciate it. And like I say, please consider the day just to be more an explanation and a part of the story that may be useful to understand things in the future rather than anything else. I don't even know why I'm making these, if I'm honest. I just know that I am. So, Archer. But it's easy for you to start getting like this when you're over there. We know what happens, and then when I see you, what happens? You start crying. Please, Tom, don't. Right, I'm really going now before I get my neck broken. Right, love you guys. Thomas Fury 0, 2, 3, 4, however many channels we've got, I don't even know anymore. That's it. Now, if only I could go get laid tonight, it'd be awesome. But yeah, might be the chicken again. Right, catch you soon. Oh, actually, before I do that, I should play you an annoying outro. That way you can really have a reason to hate me. So, what's the most annoying one I've got? Come on, guys. Usually ones that aren't relevant or don't fit are the best ones, but I haven't got many of them at the moment. So, so instead, I'm just going to play this random one. Catch you soon, guys.
Welcome to the desert of the real.